Hello, everyone, and welcome to this broadcast of the Prism for Enterprises School of Business. And of course, you know why we're here. We're here to provide support for small business, give you tips and strategies to help you jumpstart your businesses if you're just starting. And really, we're here to provide you with resources to take your businesses to the next level. And that's what we're doing today. My guest today is RJ Muto of Project Blue, and he's in the venture capital and lending space. So, from that introduction, I guess you can figure out we're going to be talking about money for small businesses. And RJ and his role as Project Blue is about lending, VC capital, insurance strategies, government programs, everything money for small business. And when I had a conversation with RJ, what I was most impressed with, and we were on the same page with this, is oftentimes business owners think this is how much money they need, this is what they need to ask for, but that's not necessarily the case. And that's where RJ comes in, where he can guide you, point you in the right direction, tell you what type of money, how much money you actually need, when you need it, and how do you spend it. So welcome, RJ. If you want to share some more with my audience about what you do, but please enlighten us about what is the most important thing small business owners or business owners in general need to consider when they are looking for funding capital in any of the different forms.
Sure. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. So thank you for having me. Um, I guess to start with, to answer your question, uh, the first thing that I need the borrowers, these people that are looking to either expand their business or start their business, is to really have an open mind and get rid of the preconceived notions of what they think money is and how to use it. um, it's definitely more helpful in the strategy that I use and my people use is finding out what your goal is. What are you trying to achieve? Um, Here's the reason why. There is 16 different products out there for funding. And that's even just in the lending space. That's not even in the venture capital space. But let's just talk about lending for a moment. And whether it be ACH money, term loans, lines of credit, SBA, whatever. There's just so many, and they all have a specific purpose, how they should be used, how they should be optimized.
Mhm, mhm,
So when somebody comes to me and says, "I need an SBA loan" or "I need a line of credit," I say, "Okay, hold on a second. Let's take it back. What are we trying to do?" Because that might not be the best product. And what they also understand is we can combine products to fit what they're trying to achieve.
okay.
And
Now,
so that's probably the biggest. We're capital consultants. We help companies find money some way, shape, or form. That's all we do.
okay, so let me ask you this, AJ. We've got the spectrum of businesses is so, as you know, so wide. You know, you've got businesses starting, businesses growing, businesses scaling. Do you offer different products or different guidance for businesses in the different stages of their business development, of their business journey? Is there particular programs that are more suited to business owners depending on where they are?
Well, very much so. Just in our frontline lending, we have over 75 best in class lenders. Now, behind that are probably another 1,000 that we could go to. And behind them, there are thousands of other companies out there. So these companies all have different appetites of what they'll specialize in, whether it be startup, or maybe it's a company that has a minimum of 3 years. This industry versus another industry. I've got some that will do cannabis and some that won't do cannabis. Some that will do law firms and some that won't. I mean, it just all these different variations. Some specialize in trucking, but won't do transportation. Others vice versa. Then you get into the different states because these lenders have to be licensed in different states. So it might be they specialize in restaurants and they'll do startups, but maybe they won't do New York.
Right.
So they all have different uh, a set of criteria that they follow that they feel is successful for them.
Okay.
And so what we try to do is we don't want to waste the customer's time by sending them to people that are not going to give them money. So first we want
Absolutely.
to talk to them and say, find out all the particulars, the demographics of what that business is. And, just to say, we're in the state of Illinois. Okay, well, so first of all the ones that don't do business in Illinois, take them out. Now, their industry, and then what stage are they in? So there is different programs, but really, it's not different programs, it's different lenders.
Mhm.
To give you an example, we've got a lender who was one of the. Do you remember when you used to buy um, coupon books?
Yes.
Usually it was like a school thing, and we're supporting the band or whatever. And you bought this book for $25 and all these coupons. So that company that started that had been doing it since the 50s. And now, since they've gone digital, now they are a lender. They lend to restaurants exclusively, and they'll do restaurants that have been open 90 days. So usually there's nobody in the industry.
You would think that would be pretty risky. I mean, 90
Yeah,
days is not a long time for a restaurant to be in business.
exactly. And the reason they do that is because they've been in that industry so long, they know that industry inside and out. So they feel very confident that they can lend to this.
They
Where,
can, yeah.
yeah, others, restaurants can be a risky thing. So, you know, that's where we try to specialize and match the
Mhm.
lender with the borrower for the best product.
Right. Rather than the loan with the borrower, it's really the lender with the borrower.
Yeah.
Um, if you, RJ, I would say that the business niche that has the most challenges when it comes to finding funding would be startups. What because they have no history, they probably have no business credit. They're not savvy in where to go to look for money because most of them have been bootstrapping or using their own money or their family's money. But how would you match someone who's leaving from employee, transitioning from employee to now being an entrepreneur and is looking to fund their business? How would you guide that type of individual?
Yeah. It's probably the most difficult lending that's out there.
Mhm.
Um, and there's a number of programs, but again, uh, it's really the work that's done before you ask for the money.
Okay.
So, it's having that business plan. It's really knowing that craft. So if this person, let's say they worked in a manufacturing and they've been a tool and die person for 15, 20 years, um, they're an expert at what they do. Um, they want to sort of branch out and do their own thing, which usually happens. That's
Mhm.
great, but they don't know the rest of business, and so that's where we sort of need to get their help. What I recommend um, is utilizing the free resources that are out there. because I'm going to send someone to SCORE or to the SBA, SBDCs, which are part of the Small Business Administration, where you can hook up with a consultant for free
Mhm,
who will walk you through those basics. Basics are the business plan.
mhm,
But let's jump ahead a little bit and say, okay, you've done that.
mhm,
They've sort of walked you through the whole piece of what you need for a business, what you need to consider. Now you're going to talk to us. And so obviously the SBA has phenomenal rates. It's there for startups. It is the primary resource out there for startups, but there's some things that you have to be aware of.
mhm,
Um, you have to have, I don't want to say excellent credit, but you have to have decent credit, a minimum of 680. Um, some sort of assets, whether the deal that you're trying to get, whether, I don't care if it's a restaurant, I don't care what the business is. If you're buying property, the SBA likes that because now there's a tangible asset against the loan.
mhm,
But let's say you don't have that. You're renting a place, so obviously you're not going to have that asset. So now they're going to look more into your personal assets. So that's something you got to be aware of. I do not advise. It happens all the time, but I do not advise people cashing in their 401k. That's just you sort of need that. You've been working so long to build that up to now put it in danger.
mhm,
Everybody believes that they're going to be successful,
mhm.
but there is so many circumstances out of their control that can really hurt them. And heck, just a few years ago we had COVID,
Yeah.
you know, and
Nobody saw that coming, right?
no, and
Or most of us didn't see that coming.
right. And I had a gentleman who I know who owned 17 Liberty tax service franchises. He went out of business. So, and this is a gentleman who is second generation with this,
Yeah.
had all these employees in all these different states, and it hurt them. Now, imagine being that startup. It doesn't take much.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're I don't want to say they're giving away free money, but they're giving away cheap money and they're lowering the threshold. But there has to be some sort of something in case this falls.
Right.
So the
Um,
risk management.
yeah. Yeah. Well, business is risky, and that the idea of that risk should really be something that every business owner, whether you're starting or whatever stage you're at, is to factor that into your model and your plan, and as you're trying to grow and scale. Um, for we talked about startups, but we have that particular subset of business owners that are more in the disruptive space, I would say, like inventors, and people who are inventing new things. So more the entrepreneurial sector of business. And these are business owners these are people that are relatively new to business. In terms of people who are inventing and disrupting and creating new things, new products and services, um, are do you treat them any differently, or is there any advice you would give them when, and these are people who kind of veer towards a venture capital space because they're looking for big money to launch their big idea?
Right, right. Again, yes and no. I would say the starting process is the same
Okay.
because these disruptors
Yeah.
and Project
But
Blue
but but
itself
you
is a
know,
disruptor.
AJ, in general or in my experience, these disruptors really skip over the basics, and oftentimes that's where they make that mistake, is when they're starting, they want to jump immediately
Yeah.
to to go and okay, where can I find money? Let me do this, let me do that, let me go start producing this, that, and the other, and they
Correct.
have not done the basics as of
And that's what I wanted to say.
yeah,
It's
how
sort of,
do you run a business? You know everything else, but how do you run a business? And that's critical. And to your point, you need to have all that under your belt before you even talk about looking for money.
well, you have to know what's out there. You don't have to be an expert at it.
Right.
Um, but you have to understand, you know, do you understand AP and AR? How a balance sheet works? Um, certain things, I, I have this video piece that I put out. It was just out of frustration. And it's, do you have a business or do you have a hobby? And so certain things like, do you have a business account? First of all, are you incorporated? You don't have to be, but if you're a S corp or an LLC or even a C corp in some, you know, you've now separated yourself
Mm,
personally from that business and protected yourself. Uh, that shows you're serious. Do you have a business bank account so you're not commingling funds? Lenders hate commingling funds. So
right.
it's little things like that. But so I would again recommend that they would start with SCORE and the SBDC, all the SBA programs, because they're free. Your tax dollars go towards that.
Hmm.
Get that free education.
Okay.
And it doesn't take long. And a lot of it is just going onto the SBA website and reading that stuff and getting, familiar with it.
Hmm.
But let's jump ahead and say, okay,
You've
we've
done
got,
all that.
yeah, they've done that, so they understand, have some understanding of it, but they still have this great idea. Um, Obviously, the venture capitalists are going to look at, what type of money do you have in there? Okay, what type of people are backing you? Who believes in you? But then, you've got to think about, are you going to, you're either going to give away debt or equity,
Hmm.
or acquire debt or give away equity. So, it's those type of things. I tell you, I love shortcuts, love them. But if they're the proper shortcuts.
Okay, yeah.
So, are you watching Shark Tank? You know, are you online watching some of those other business shows? Are you uh, listening to podcasts
Hmm.
like what we're
In
talking
other
about?
words, are you immersing yourself in the business realm and being familiar with what's going on out there?
Correct. Correct. Because there's also different, just in the VC world, there's different levels of VC. So we have a VC which focuses on startups, and they
Hmm.
take you to a certain level to make you attractive to the bigger venture capital firms, the
Hmm.
KKRs and the Bains and groups like that. But those groups are not working with the startups.
Nope.
So, you know, there's so many. I tell people, do you know how long it takes to complete a game of Monopoly? And I get people that give me answers, hours and weeks and days and whatever. If you read the rules, you should be able to complete a game of Monopoly in 1 hour. So what my point is learn what the rules of the game are.
Hmm.
What are the tax laws? The tax laws are not there to hurt us. And there's so many incentives to do the right thing. You talked about these disruptors. Well, they're going to be eligible for a lot of our R&D tax credits. But now if they, let's say the first 5 years keep showing no profit and they're hiding money, well, they can't do that. And they're not going to be able to get those rebates. But if they did it the right way, I can actually get them more money than what they were paying in taxes.
Hmm.
But they don't understand that.
Yeah.
So we're educated.
What would you say, AJ, other than knowing the basics, having a plan, or a model, whatever, for your business? What are the top three things that would make a business most attractive to a lender?
To a
And
lender or a venture capitalist? There's two
well,
different things.
let's do both then.
Okay.
So for let's talk about the lending side and then the venture, because you're correct. It's a completely different world. It's two completely different worlds. But because sometimes depending on where you are in your business, how visible you are, where you are in terms of growth, the lender or venture capitals might come looking for you instead of you go looking for them. So what are the top three things you would recommend for on both sides that would
So,
make a business most attractive
right.
to that particular lender or VC?
Okay. So I'm even going to break it up further than that. So for startup, it's really, you know, when you're talking to a lender, and this could even be for a venture capitalist, have you done the homework? Do you have a
Mhm.
detailed business plan? Have you, this is who my CPA is. This is who my legal counsel is going to be. Here is um, here's the 4 or 5 people that believe in me, that are business people that are on my board and may invest. Okay, so those are exciting things. Those are things that are going to make you stand out.
Mhm.
Um, let's say you're already in business and you could only be in business for 90 days, you could be in business for 5, 10 years. The three things that I would say that are the most important are your personal credit and your business credit. Those are huge. So cleaning up your personal credit, 680 is the minimum. Okay, 740 gets you everything. Anything over 740, the world's your oyster. Business credit, which is totally different, most businesses don't even have it. And what people don't understand is today, more lending institutions are going to look at business credit. And the reality is because they know the personal credit is screwed up, whether the people screwed it up or the people reporting it screwed it up or the
Mhm.
actual, Macy's or Sears or somebody or, whoever
Yeah.
is not
Or
reporting correctly.
it could
So,
just be, a lender might be so, whatever that business owner is bringing to the market is going to be so impactful that they don't want to lose out on that opportunity to be a part of it, but the person has horrible credit. So
well,
maybe
yeah. And
that's
again,
a good reason for them to be looking at your business credit rather than
they're
personal
right.
credit,
They're managing risk. So
right?
then the next thing is they're going to look at versus a traditional bank, which is going to look at your business plan and future. When you're looking at, you need operating money because most businesses out there aren't looking for millions. The average that the business owner are looking for is 250,000, which banks don't want to give, and so they don't want to go that low. So now when we talk about the most important thing is they're going to ask for either 3 or 6 months worth of your bank statements. And they're going to look at and they're going to say, is this person basically running this business as their wallet? Okay. So what they're going to do, and a good rule of thumb is that at the end of the month, after you've paid all your bills, however much money is in that bank, they will give you between 75 and 125% of that in a loan. Okay. So they're going to look at that and say, okay, this is how much we think they can handle. So you could be running hundreds of thousands through, but if 100,000 comes in and 99.9 thousand comes out, and you're only sitting with $1,000 in the bank account, you're probably going to get $3,000, which you're not going to be too happy about.
Right.
So people don't understand that. And then, of course, on the bank statements, you know, what's going to count against you is days where there's a zero balance. You never want a zero balance. And you never want any NSF charges, bad checks.
Right. Right.
Okay. Because those things will either knock you down and you'll pay a higher interest or disqualify you. So what I tell people is when I look at their credit, when I look at their bank statements and these type of things, I look at it and say, it's just like when you're buying auto insurance. You know, I wasn't driving that car. You're the one driving without a seatbelt or got or cell phone tickets or you were speeding and you earned that record and that's why your insurance is high. Well, it's the
Mhm.
same thing. Your credit, personal, business credit might be bad or not even existent. And then your bank statements has all these problems. You may not get a loan or it's going to cost you an arm and a leg.
Mhm. What's the
So
first step to building that business credit?
So it there's a lot to that. It's really easy. The first thing I would say is there's no need to go out there because there's tons of programs that start at $5,000 to go up to $10,000, $25,000 to build your business credit. I can help you do that for free.
Okay.
And I had heard about it, and of course, being in the lending space and seeing that the lenders were going towards that, and I saw how important it was. Well, I could keep saying it's important and go do it, but I had never done it myself. I didn't need it. So I went ahead and went through it. I went through those trials and tribulations of what it takes to get business credit. Now I got a ton of business credit, which I don't use and don't need, but I wanted to find out the right way to do it. And so, uh, and I do have a program and I wrote a book on it and I'm going to give it to your audience at the end.
Yeah. That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, that will show them. But the first thing I'm saying is don't spend money on doing it. You don't have to.
Yeah.
It's a it's a
Uh,
it's
uh,
a
uh,
it's a different animal.
why
It's
do that, especially when you're in business?
yeah,
And it just makes sense. Don't
yeah,
spend money you don't have to.
that's
So
right.
on the VC side, RJ, where are we going? How do you make yourself attractive to those venture capitalists?
So again, it's you have just like the lenders. There's different VC that specialize in different. Some are big into telecommunications and IT. Some are more into construction that has ties to real estate. Some are in the media and technology world. So they all have specialties. So let's say we've honed in on here is the one or two groups that will work with a startup in your industry, you know, and in your area. Okay. So the big thing that scares VC is when they have someone that is such a dreamer that they're unrealistic. Okay. So let's use our common sense. Yes, you may have this idea, which is a disruptor. Okay. And let's say you've done your homework where you know the other aspects of the business that you have to have. You've got a very detailed and conservative business plan. You're not going to be making millions right out the door. You know, you want to see what, you know, put in those losses for the first few years. What is going to be what you're called your run rate? You know, what is it going to take for that business? And when do you think the tipping point will come? Know your numbers. You know, it's going to cost me this much for the materials. It's going to cost me this much to manufacture it, if it's that type of thing. Or if it's you're developing a software, this many hours, it's going to cost me this much for the people. It have all of that. Then your customer acquisition, what they call CAC. Okay,
Mhm.
so you know what is it going to cost to bring that customer in, and then what is it going to cost to retain them? What will be the average life of the customer? Because that's going to really help the venture capitalist say this person is dealing in
It's
reality.
their business. Yeah.
They know what's going on. They know what's up in the markets, you know, who your competition is. you could have disruptors are fun. They're great things. We all know the Ubers and PayPals and all those different things that came out. But you also have and there's some sexiness to that, right? It's new, it's exciting. But there's an educational time lapse that you
Yeah.
have to go through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if it's so much of a disruptor that it's going to take people, we're going from someone who is driving a car and you're offering now rocket ships. That's a big leap.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even saying it's impossible. All I'm saying is now, what's that education process to get to that point? So they're going to look at that.
Yeah. And do you have the knowledge, skills, and abilities? And if you don't, do you have team members that have those skills?
Exactly. And of course, the basics, your background in that industry, and how do you know this, and those type of things, and what roles you play. So you can be that mad scientist that came up with this, and you're great at that. But you also need to realize what you're terrible at.
Mm-hmm.
I'm terrible with the numbers. I can't stand the paperwork and all of that. Okay, who do you have for that? Okay, well, I've got this person who has this background, and they do the bookkeeping, and then I've got this CPA who actually not only is CPA but also sits on my board and advises me. Okay,
Right.
it's things like that a VC goes, okay, they got their act together. We may need to tweak some things,
Mm-hmm.
but
But in
what they want to
general,
do is,
they've got it together. We can work with them.
yeah, and see, they
They
want to
might
take
need a
that,
little guidance, but we can work with them.
that money and as fuel and sprinkle it on the fire and have that go,
Mm-hmm.
not build this dream for this person.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the biggest thing. And and really, it's, you never want to call someone's baby ugly, right? I mean, that's, all babies are beautiful. Well, we know they're not all beautiful, but we say they are. It's the same thing with these deals. You know, I want them to be realistic, and I don't want to say your baby's ugly, but which is your dream, but let's fortify that a little bit. Let's you know uh, dial up this situation a little bit. Let's shore up the foundation because you're built on a foundation of sand.
Mm-hmm.
But now you're coming out of this business, and there's three customers that want to do business with you already, but you don't have the facility or you don't have the materials or
Right.
whatever the case may be. Here is people in the industry or other business owners that believe in me that are coming in for X amount.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they're putting in 1 million, but I need to get to 5 million.
Million, right.
You know, um, there's just so many different areas
Mm-hmm.
that show that you have everything together, and it's much better going into VC and saying I've got something that's going to be $1 billion. Automatically turns them off. If you've got something that says I've got this business, here's where I can start. I think I can hit this mark, and this mark, and we could be at 5 million in 2 years,
2 years,
25 million
right.
in
Yeah.
3, 5, and then because they're gonna at that startup now they're gonna be talking to you about cashing out
Mm-hmm.
or going public, or there's just
Public,
so many
yeah.
other things that
So
can.
many different directions you can go in. So this is such a enlightening conversation because as an entrepreneur myself, we're always learning. There's always something to learn, and the business space, the funding space changes like overnight sometimes. So to your point, you have to really stay educated, stay connected, know what is going on in business, watch those podcasts, take a course, whatever it is you have to do, but you can't just stay in one place. When we started the conversation, AJ, you said there were like how many different programs?
there's 16 different programs.
16. That is really phenomenal.
Yeah, and
So,
your average bank offers four.
sorry,
Your average bank
offers 4.
offers only four.
Okay.
So people just don't know. And I just want just to add on to your point there, I want people to, before they ask anyone for money, and like I said, watch Shark Tank and things like that. And the reason I use Shark Tank is because that's a perfect model.
Yeah.
Pretend you're one of those people lending the money. Would you lend yourself that money?
But money, yeah.
Ask those questions. How long is it going to take before I recoup my money? So when you think about this money coming out of your pocket, which in Shark Tank it's coming out of their pockets, that's why they ask those questions. Now think about that for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how am I going to get this money back?
Yeah.
And be
Yeah.
tough with yourself. You don't have to share that with anybody else. Be tough with
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. Take yourself out of, as a writer, I always say when you write something, um, after you've written it, go read it again as the reader rather than the writer. And when you're reading it as the reader, you get a completely different perspective. And sometimes you'll read it and you go, what is this person trying to say?
Right.
That doesn't even make sense. So it's
Why did I
kind of
write
like,
that?
yeah, why did I even write that? So it's the perfect analogy that when you're forget you're the person wanting the money. What if you were the person on the other side of the table? Would I want to lend to myself? And if the answer is no, what do you need to change? And you have to be honest. You can't just say, oh, yeah, I would lend myself because my idea is great, blah, 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 blah. No, look at it through different lenses.
I
So,
love, I have myself and the other people we work with and the other owners of Project Blue, we all share one passion. And our passion is we love entrepreneurs. We love people in business. And because we're the same way. And so the bottom line is we've made a lot of these mistakes and overcame them.
mhm,
And so we don't want you making the same mistakes.
exactly.
And so if we can work with you and even when I talk with folks, whether we can find them money or not, because sometimes we can, maybe they're not ready, but hopefully they've learned something so they can go back, fix whatever they learned, and then come back, and now we can find them money. But if
Right.
we've done that, now we put them on more solid ground.
Exactly.
That we didn't get them to the starting point, but we got them to be able for some I can't even say the word, have them sustain through
Yeah.
business, the
Right.
longevity.
Absolutely.
That's what we're looking for.
Okay. Well, RJ, it has been such a pleasure talking to you about money, and we could go on and on. I would love for you to come back again and talk about those specific programs. I know not some people might think those diving so deeply into different loan programs is not what they want to hear about, but I guarantee you, if you're in business and looking for funding, you want to know. So if we can talk more in depth, because
Most
uh,
definitely. Because the
I would
wrong program will hurt your business.
exactly. Exactly. You could not have said that even better. That's a perfect soundbite. The wrong loan program will devastate your business
Yeah.
because if you're not looking at the interest, how long you're going to be paying for this, all the different ways in which it's going to affect your business.
Right.
And that's where you come in, because sometimes a lender will just give you money and not tell you, how is it going to affect your business, whether it's how you're spending it, how often you're spending it, are you spending it on the right thing?
Right.
So,
A lot of them are out there. A lot of lenders are out there, unfortunately, to make deals.
exactly.
And
They
They
want to
close
give
the
you
deal.
money because they know how much they want to get money from you. So
Right.
not necessarily looking at it from how is this going to benefit this business owner. It's just I want to make a deal.
And our model's different because yes, we want to get you money, but we have all these other programs besides lending.
Hmm.
And so I need you, we make small commissions. So I need you to be in business for the next 20 years and
Exactly.
growing,
You
and we
you
grow
want
right
them
with you.
you want them to come back and
Yeah.
over and over, and you want them to recommend people because hey, this guy pointed me in the right direction. He didn't just throw money at me. So, that's really impactful and really something that most business owners need to be looking at,
Yes.
rather than just looking for money. What kind of money do I need, and what kind of money do I need, and how should I be spending this money? How can I best utilize it to benefit my business, not just in the short, but the long term? So, RJ, tell my audience, it's been a great conversation. Um, and I hope you come back and talk more about those loan programs. But how can the audience find you? Tell them where are you on social media? How can they reach you? And share that. And I know you have a special offer you want to share, which I'm very excited about because I want to take advantage of it. So,
Sure. So probably the best way to reach me directly is just to go to my website, which is rjmuto, muto.com. And I'm sure you could put that in the
in
link,
the show notes, yes.
yeah, the show notes. Uh, so there you can reach out to me, whether it's just for just some basic communication, you want a session. I have no problem with talking with folks. Again, I love entrepreneurs. But you can also schedule with me to go through the lending process. But also reach out to me from that website because anyone who comes there and says they're coming from your show, then I will give them my book and my course for free, which is a $575 value
Okay.
of how, which I sell it for, but how to build business credit, how to get it, how to build it, how to manage it. And I will give that for free to all your listeners.
Okay.
And then, so
Do you maybe have a graphic of the of that I can share with my audience?
I
Um,
will send you all of that. You'll have all of it.
Okay, awesome. So
So
RJ, once again, thank you so much for being here. And to my audience, thank you for joining me again in the Prism for Enterprises School of Small Business. And I know as, as well as myself, you learned a lot today. We've been in school a while this morning, so I'm pretty confident you got some value from this. Thank you for joining me, as I said. Please subscribe to the channel, come back again, and I hope to see you again soon.